and welcome to Brain versus Heart. I am Mrs. Hart, otherwise known as the INFP, and I see a question going around online, and it's, what's the dark side of an INFP? And a lot of people don't really answer the question honestly. I'm guessing a lot of the people who answer based on what they list themselves as an INFP, and it seems as though they're not being totally honest because everything they say is positive. Well, I'm an INFP, and I'm going to do something that other INFPs are going to be very angry about, probably. Maybe they won't. Probably they won't care if they're anything like me. But here's some of the dark sides to INFPs. At least me, speaking personally from my experience. This is an expose on my inner thoughts, some of them. So the dark side to an INFP is while we are laughing on the outside, we don't want to hurt people's feelings. So if we're in a situation where we want to get out of it, we'll laugh on the outside or we'll try to make the person comfortable because we really do care about people. We really do care about people's feelings, but on the inside, we're dying. We're like, I can't wait to get away from this person. I'm going to make sure I avoid this person at all costs next time so I don't get stuck in a conversation. Or if it's an unpleasant situation, we try to avoid that person as much as possible. So much so to the point where if we don't want confrontation or we don't want to ever see that person again, we would actually rather something happen to the person than have to hurt their feelings and tell them to fuck off. I'm not the only one. I've heard that from 2 other of my friends. Now, 3 of us doesn't make up the general populace of INFPs. They probably don't think that way, but I know I think that way. I would rather, like, instead of me hurting you, I would rather you get hurt by something else and just disappear rather than the hurt have to come from me, because that would hurt me worse. It's not funny, but... But it kind of is, because it's so freaking weird. Like, it doesn't even make any sense. Logically, it's like, really? You would rather that person die than you have to say something to hurt their freaking feelings, you fucking psycho? Yeah. I can't explain it. I'm being honest. The other dark side to INFPs, or at least that I had and still have sometimes, is if someone really hurts me, or especially hurts someone that I love, I will fantasize about the most horrible things. And you know, INFPs have very vivid imaginations. We will go to a world, we will execute a whole feature film in our heads, play out an entire scenario and enjoy it, and then walk away like, oh, I feel better. I just completely chopped up someone's body parts in my sleep and it felt good and I tortured them while I was doing it, but I felt good now. We would never do that in real life, but we do fantasize about shit like that if someone really hurt us. But the thing is, for me personally, I never really feel that way over people that hurt me. I feel that way over people that hurt people I love. So for example, with one exception. For example, though, if someone does like bullying to me, because I've been bullied when I was little, and I know a lot of you are gonna be like, that's why you think that way. No, not necessarily. Even before I was being bullied, somebody would, like this old man would just be really nasty to us kids, like all of us. I went to a preppy school and we went to this tutor, very good math tutor, and he was just really disgustingly nasty of a person. Like, that's the kind of person that's not supposed to be anywhere near kids. And he would just say some awful things to us, call us jackass and asshole. Now keep in mind that we were like 6 and I came and my dad dropped me off, and as I sat down, I was getting my workbook out, some other people were getting their workbook out, and he told us to turn to a certain page, and I guess I misheard him because I'm sitting on the far right and he was directing his voice over to the left. So I started reading the page he told me to read, or at least I thought he told me to read. Bear in mind, I'm like 6 or 7, and he's like, not that page, you jackass, in front of the whole class. Now, during that time, I would get laughed at school, and there were some people that did go to my school that went to that tutor as well, but nobody was laughing. Usually they would all laugh at me. Nobody was laughing because everyone was afraid of this man, Mr. Abraham. He's dead now. It doesn't really matter. Every time I stepped into his classroom, I could feel the temperature drop. Maybe that was just my nerves, but I always felt horrible. It was always a tense moment in there, and I just didn't want to be there anymore. I was so embarrassed, you know, and I didn't deserve that kind of treatment. So when I went home, I was emotional. And please, for those of you who are watching, I know you're logical people. I know you don't really actually think that there's a correlation here. If there is, and you believe you're one of those people who believe in energy and causation and all that stuff, good for you. But look, it wasn't my fault. So I went home and I kept saying over and over to myself, I wish something bad would happen to Mr. Abraham. I wish he would die. I just want him to die. And I would say that over and over and over and over again. Well, next week when we were supposed to go to class, all the students are outside waiting and we're wondering, Mr. Abraham's very good with time too. So we're like, where's Mr. Abraham? His wife comes out. I shit you not, you guys. Wife comes out and says, guys, classes have been canceled. Unfortunately, Mr. Abraham passed away. He had a heart attack. And all of us, before she even went inside, as she delivered the news, just started cheering. Whoa! Yeah! Like everyone was cheering. I wasn't cheering, but I was smiling. I was like, thank God. Like, that's how hard, he was a horrible man. I'm not even gonna feel sorry for saying that. But that's one of the dark sides of the INFP. Just imagining something bad happening to people. Now, when I was a kid, I'm sure other kids did that too. Maybe it was our collective that decided to do that. Maybe we were all chanting the same thing and then we made his heart give out. Or maybe he was just freaking old and always angry all the time and he stressed himself out because he didn't like kids. Don't know why he was even doing that. But anyway, he was gone. That's just an example of that. Another example is if somebody has done something horrible to someone I know, and I would just imagine, or even if they haven't done something, I just imagine someone doing something bad to my family or bad to my boyfriend or whatever it is, and I would just imagine that I have powers. Tell me who's done this. You people, like, just be honest. You have teleportation powers or telekinesis or whatever it is, and you have all of these powers in one, and this person hurts your family and you catch them. And all of a sudden, a machete is going up their rear end and you're enjoying it. You're this person that you are when you're imagining these things is sick and twisted, but you think it's justified because that's what you want to do to that person if they ever lay a hand on your family. That's a really dark side of me. Of course, there are a lot of stories I tell in my imagination about wonderful things, about me taming dragons, about me traveling to other worlds outside of our solar system or in another universe, and it's so enjoyable. But then there are those times. But the funny thing is, as dark as my mind can get towards hurting people, I can say with all honesty that it's never been dark towards someone who I've been in love with and they've hurt me. I know some people imagine hurting their girlfriend or a boyfriend or doing something horrible to them if they ever hurt them. I can't do that. That's the one thing that I've never been able to do. I think I've told a story on here already where an ex-boyfriend that I had, he lost it and things escalated and he put me in a chokehold and I was passing out and I had a chance to pick up a lamp next to me and hit him with it. But I knew if I did that, I would hurt him. So I just lay there and light started to leave my eyes. Everything started getting dark and I was like, okay, because I'm not going to hurt him. As much as I was mad at him, as much as he hurt me, I can't do that. I can't ever imagine me doing something horrible to the people I love, even if they've hurt me. So that's a dark side of us, but it's not that dark for me. I'm not that dark. The other dark side, which is kind of along those lines, is someone hurts animals. And I watch these videos of people deliberately putting animals in danger to get views and stuff. And I just imagine that I turn into one of these animals or their mother or just much larger version of them and then start ripping that person apart and eating them very slowly. So maybe that's a weird thing that INFPs do. Maybe that's a weird thing that people in general do when they don't have power to change something or to help people that they want to help. But aside from avoiding people and not liking people and not wanting to be around people and having those stories, yeah, that's about it. Those are the darkest parts of me. And I know that they're very disturbing. The places where my mind goes sometimes when I imagine somebody hurting my family or loved one, that's the ones that really kick it. And the person I am, it really is like, wow, I hope I never get powers because someone did this, I would enjoy hurting them. Like you can actually feel it. You can be honest with yourself and be like, I would enjoy doing this. And I think part of you is like, oh, it's not real. So, but if you really did have those powers, would you really be like this? If somebody really hurt your family, like, you know, molested your mother and skinned her in front of you, and then you got these powers and you had the option to kill that person real slow or make them really pay for it, would you not enjoy it? Like, you really have to ask yourself these questions. And when I do go away from those, I scare myself sometimes. Like, there's this rush that, wow, it feels great. I got revenge, and now this person, nobody can mess with me or my family. But at the same time, I'm like, wow, is that who I really am inside? I mean, we are part of the animal kingdom, and we do have that inside of us. Civilization has quelled a lot of that because also our intellect, we know that there's cause and effect, we know there's consequences for it. But in a world where we didn't have certain laws, people were doing that. And people would even say that it's justified. You killed my mother, you did this to my mother, you hurt my daughter, you did something to my kid. And everybody would just see somebody shoot someone else or see someone kill someone and be like, well, he kind of deserved it. But anyway, that is what I want to say about INFPs. Does it make us horrible people? I think what is in your mind really does reflect how you feel, but your actions and how you process it after really determines who you are, who you're choosing to be. I've heard my husband say some messed up shit too, like, and then I would call him out and I'm like, when someone cuts him off on the road, and he's an INTJ. So Someone cuts him off on the road. He's like, you motherfucker, I hope you fucking crash and burn and die. I'm like, babe, you don't mean that. Yes, I do. Because that shit will get other people killed. I'm like, yeah, but what if he crashes and dies and kills someone else in the process? And he's so mad at that person over someone cutting him off that he would rather that person die. But does he really mean it? Maybe he does. Maybe if that person crashed and he didn't hurt anybody else, he would be like, good, now you can't hurt anybody else because you put my life in danger. You're putting everybody else's life in danger. You deserve to have that happen to you. Maybe he really does mean it. But I think the difference between my INTJ husband and me is that he's more open with his darkness. He's more forthcoming and honest about how dark he is. Me, that shit stays in my mind. Like, I'll share it with him because he's the closest person to me. But for the most part, that shit stays in my mind. When I'm acting those things out, just like I'm sure a lot of people, when they have their fantasies and they're acting certain things out, you're not going to tell that shit to people. So there, I took one for the team. I do have to say that apparently I have a very strong protective instinct, and given the right circumstances, I could become a very scary person. I know it sounds weird, me, a 5'3" girl saying that, but I would do anything to protect the people that I love. And I'm not sorry for that. Anyways, that was weird, but I felt the need to come on here because a lot of people were insulting people answering the question in the community, saying that they weren't being honest. But INFPs are people just like everybody else. And we're not perfect little butterflies. We're more like fairies. Little glittery things that are really cute and smiley, but there is always a dark side to a light side. The people you really have to watch out for are the people who aren't honest with it. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. If you have any other questions or suggestions for videos, be sure to leave them in the comments. Check out our podcast as well. We're trying to get more material together so we can do the podcast because we want to talk about several different topics. You can find the information for the podcasts in the description, and I hope you guys, I guess, enjoyed. See you in the next one.